On October 7, the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, launched a surprise attack on Israel. As the war lengthened and casualties continued to rise in the process, US President Biden visited Israel on October 18 to express his support for Israel. Platform, repeatedly emphasizing the United States' firm support for Israel, saying that the attacks suffered by Israel are equivalent to 15 times of 911. Like the 911 incident, after the incident, while people condemned the terrorists, they also questioned the CIA, believing that it was the CIA's negligence that led to the incident. Also, after this sudden attack by Hamas, people all over the world were confused. Faced with such a large-scale sea, land, and air trinity operation by Hamas, Mossad, the organization known as the Israeli CIA, failed to discover in advance any signs and warnings. Mossad, the full name of the Israeli Intelligence and Special Missions Agency, is known as the for major intelligence agencies in the world and the top for espionage agencies in the world, together with the CIA, the KGB of the Soviet Union and the British MI6. Established by the Israeli military in 1948, it is famous for its boldness, radicalness, and secrecy. Since its establishment, Mossad has carried out many successful operations that shocked the world. Mossad can be said to be a legend in the history of world intelligence. Over the past 50 years, there have been 5 wars in the Middle East, and little Israel has the upper hand, and Mossad can be said to have played an indispensable role. Its eyes are spread all over the opponent's central and senior levels, and knowing itself and the enemy makes the Israel Defense Forces even more powerful. However, this time Hamas carried out such a large-scale operation with so many people involved. How come Mossad had no news at all? Has Mossad really declined? So let's take a look at the Israeli government's overreaction after the Hamas attack. Faced with opposition from most countries in the world, Israel insisted on entering the Gaza area, completely wiping out Hamas, and establishing new security there. Regime. It turns out that Israel wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to completely occupy Gaza. It's horrifying to think about it carefully. Let's look back and think about it. Did Mossad really know nothing about Hamas's attack in advance? Is this sudden attack by Hamas the 9/11 incident for Israel? Or their Pearl Harbor? During World War II, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in the United States on December 7, 1941. The US Pacific Fleet suffered heavy losses, which was a huge shock to the United States. After that, the United States declared war on Japan and switched from neutrality to the Allied camp. This also became a major turning point in World War II. Many military fans have another interpretation of the Pearl Harbor incident. They believe that the Pearl Harbor incident was a conspiracy designed by Roosevelt in advance. His sacrifice of the Pacific Fleet was a painful ruse for the United States to enter the war. In the early days of World War II, isolationism was prevalent in the United States. The United States did not want to get involved in the war and used new neutrality laws to limit the power of the president. Roosevelt was very dissatisfied with this. He wanted to intervene in the war many times, but was opposed by the isolationists. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Americans were shocked and humiliated. President Roosevelt directly called this day a shameless day. People across the United States were excited and public opinion to join the war was unprecedentedly high. After eliminating domestic political obstacles, Americans quickly joined the Allies and accelerated the end of World War II. Let's go back to the current Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Before the conflict, Israel's internal political reforms encountered great resistance. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis even broke out in demonstrations, and Israel's internal conflicts became increasingly torn apart. Regarding this Hamas attack, is it possible that Mossad deliberately concealed some intelligence to allow Hamas' plan to succeed? This way, it can alleviate the internal turmoil in Israel by transferring conflicts externally. In the face of external attacks, all forces within Israel have reunited and are united in dealing with the outside world, and are taking the opportunity to further expand their encroachment on Palestine, that is, to control Gaza and permanently occupy this area.